hear the word library, you might think of someplace like this. In fact, when I went to the Huntington Library, I was expecting someplace like this too. But boy, was I wrong. The Huntington Library is much more than just a quiet place to read books. Henry Edwards Huntington was a railroad magnate and collector of art and rare books. He was born in 1850 in the town of Huntingotn, New York. He settled in Los Angeles, where he owned the Pacific Electric Railway. Huntington was a major booster for Los Angeles in the early 1900s. Mr. Huntington bought land from the San Marino ranch and turned it into a big mansion. Mom. Isn't this big? Huntington lived in a large mansion in San Marino, California. He and his wife began to collect rare books, art, and planted large gardens. His wife, Arabella, especially liked this hobby. Today, this mansion still stands along with all of its arts and gardens. There are three major parts to the museum: the library, the art collections, and the gardens. The library has rare books and manuscripts such as the Gutenberg Bible and thousands of documents about Abraham Lincoln. There are 6.5 million manuscripts and more than 1 million rare books. Most of the art is British and French. The best-known works of British art are Blue Boy by Thomas Gainsborough and Pinky by Thomas Lawrence. As you can see, my favorite is Pinky. The third part of the museum is botanical gardens. More than a dozen gardens cover 120 acres. The gardens are divided into different themes. The Camellia Garden. The Chinese garden features a lake, a tea house, and 5 stone bridges, and is a common attraction of the Huntington Gardens. The Conservatory for Botanical Science, a place where you can learn about plants. This plant has a little round spot so that the flies can go in. It has a liquid inside so it kills anything that goes inside of it. Cool, right? These are all the carnivorous plants. They kill other creatures that try to eat them. The double coconut is the largest single seed in the world. I know what you're probably thinking. It does look pretty strange. The Children's Garden is a fun place for kids to explore. The Rose Garden shows history of the rose over 2,000 years. Here I have Mrs. Wallace, a member of the Huntington Library. I'm going to ask her a few questions now. Number 1, what's your favorite part of about going to the Huntington Library?
I love going to the Huntington any time of the year, winter, spring, summer, or fall. There's no bad time that you could possibly go. And what I love about going there at any time of the year is I feel like I'm going back in time. Because in the 1800s, that's when Mr. Huntington, who owned that house and built the house and owned the land, that's when he and his wife lived there and entertained there. And so it feels like, in some ways, that you go back in time. And I like that. I like the slower pace and how relaxed it is, and of course, how beautiful it is.
Okay. What piece or pieces in the gallery are your favorite? Yeah.
So my favorite is in the main house where Mr. and Mrs. Huntington lived. There's a big, huge art gallery, like two-story art gallery, that has portraits of women mainly, but some men also. Yeah, and the clothes they wear in these paintings, and the hats, and the jewelry, and the shoes, and the doggies, and the horses that they stand near. And then the most famous paintings there are the Pinky and Blue Boy,
Yeah.
which are on either end of the very large art gallery room.
Yeah, okay. Number 3, if you were to pick a garden in the Huntington Library to stay in, which would you pick?
Another hard question. Which garden would I pick? The children's garden is so magical, and the Japanese garden is so special. But if and the Chinese garden. But if I could only pick one garden, I decided I would pick the rose garden, because the rose garden is so beautiful with all different color roses and a beautiful herb garden next to it. But it also has a cottage within it, and you can make a reservation and have high tea at the cottage.
Thank you for being here now. Okay.
You're welcome.
For interviewing. The desert garden has one of the world's largest and oldest collections of cacti. The desert garden is one of the world's finest, with more than 5,000 species. After walking 120 acres, I'm exhausted.